Are we in? Well, good evening. And how do you do? Well, we started a little late, but we've been doing that lately. I mean, it's just who we are. Tonight's episode is the Perseverance mission, the Chinese Nostradamus, the Firestone, and Big Oil in their bankers. Oh, yes. You better put on your boots and your old clothes because you're going to get dirty. And why do we do it? Why do we talk about these stories? Why do we bring these things to you? Because we're tall tales from the rabbit hole, and that's what we do, man. Tell it.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Drop in the sand, like a worm in the storm. A hungry hunger inside of me. I can't be reborn. I'm a monster, spreading hate, stealing time. I'm a monster, laying beds when it's cloudy. Oh, pilgrim inside of me. Tell me, what's my remedy? I'm a fraud, call me a liar, a truth.
Welcome to another edition of Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole. Yes, we started late. I guess I need to adjust that time on our schedule because we inherently, been starting at, 11, 12. But at least we're starting. That's something. But we appreciate you coming into the old hole to, go ahead and get your dirty clothes on and light the old lantern and let's go through there and see what we've got. Yeah, there is no time. There's no time, no. And the only reality there is the reality we make ourselves. And I get that way. But we've got a few things to cover that found interesting. I found interesting. I hope everyone else finds it interesting. But I ran across. And if any of y'all out there are kind of science nerds like me, you'll probably have already heard the Mars Perseverance sound bite that they've been playing of the actual wind that they've recorded from Perseverance, and then of course the YouTube being, is got all the capabilities to lead people down a rabbit hole. I stumbled across a clip of this individual that says he's got this live footage of the little helicopter, because it does have a little helicopter, a little drone, if you will, that will be taking some aerial shots of the area around where Perseverance landed. Yeah, right. But actually, it doesn't look like it's. I checked NASA and a couple other places. It's not legitimate, and he has very few viewers. So, I mean, maybe he'll get something out of it. Hey, everybody's got to try, I guess. But I actually have a clip to hear what the Martian wind actually sounds like, and yes, No, it's not the wind coming out of AOC. Um, although it could be looked at that way. And it is, there it is. There's that little clip. Of course, after we get past the ads, I'm not paying for ad free.
I invite you now to, if you would like to close your eyes and just imagine yourself sitting on the surface of Mars and listening to the surroundings. If I could have the first one, please. So that gentle whirl that happens in the background, that is a noise made by the rover. But yes, what you did hear 10 seconds in was an actual wind gust on the surface of Mars, picked up by the microphone, and sent back to us here on Earth. The analysis indicates that was around a 5 meter per second type of wind gust. So we can sit here now and actually tell you that we have recorded sounds from the surface of Mars. So we have a second one, which basically further reduced the noise of the rover, so you can just hear what the wind would sound like on Mars. And once again, I invite you to sit back and have a listen to what it would sound like to be on Mars. It's cool. It's really neat, overwhelming, if you will. I can't remember what I was going to go and say next.
Overwhelming and absolutely amazing. Actually, I think that I made the same sound after a bad night of eating Taco Bell, but I digress. That is actually pretty cool. Well, we have the first sounds from the red planet, actually on the surface of the red planet, and the fact that they have a microphone, they have that little helicopter, they have that little drone that's going to be able to fly around and shoot all kinds of pics. There's no telling what we're going to see, or what we would hope to see, but maybe, filtered out. The reports will be redacted, and so on and so on and so on. But, I thought that was pretty cool. And, a little bit about perseverance, if, people don't actually know. Well, it was launched back in, looks like it was launched back in July of 2020. You'll find it, BP says you'll find a Dollar General and a Walmart. I mean, I'm sure that Walmart will definitely be there. They've probably funded a trip to they got one set up at the moon and Mars. So they're like, these are the places that individuals are going to be going first. We got to have things set up because, they're going to need to eat and, they're going to need to wipe their ass. So, no toilet paper shortage on the moon or Mars, people. And then, so, and IHOP, yeah, get some of those blueberry waffles. Whoa, watch out. So, it launched in July of last year, and then it got just landed. It's only been on the red planet actually for the current counter it's been on the red planet for 4 days, 8 hours, 20 minutes, and 57, 58, 59 seconds. Yes. So, it's got several goals, and one of the goals of the actual mission is it's going to collect about 30 sample tubes of Martian rock and soils. That's going to do some drilling with its little arm and has its little sample tubes, and there's going to be a future retrieval mission to get these samples back to laboratories on Earth. So we're going to actually have, and how crazy would it be How crazy would it be? Because there's been in the whole, and that's what we do. There's stories that um, comets or meat or asteroids have pummeled have hit the Earth and actually carried microbes. They've already shown that microbes and whatnot can survive in outer space, survive and um, really, really just the actual atmosphere can they can survive out there in space and show how crazy would it be as if those little tubes came back, brought back some kind of Martian, microbe or life or other kind of alien life form and introduced it into Earth's atmosphere or the surrounding area. And, I'm sure that they're going to have all this stuff. It's going to be, it's going to be locked down and NASA. It's going to be like the CDC, levels upon levels of security. And no one will be able to get to it. But then there's that one guy that gets a little bit on his sleeve and just carries on down the road to meet his girlfriend for dinner at Ruby Tuesdays, and it's all over from there. Because Lord, once they get a hold of the salad bar, it's going to infect everybody. But anyways, that's like a bad sci-fi movie. But they're gonna send back samples of all this, so we can take a look and see if there's really been life on Mars before, when it had liquid water flowing through it, which may be flowing underground over there. They don't know a lot about that, or they do, and they're just not sharing it all with us. But that's pretty cool that they're going to send back samples. And there's other countries that are scrambling. I think China's got a rover there, or has a mission that's circling Mars right now. Was it India? I think is doing one as well. Japan's doing one. I think the EU's gotten involved. So there's lots of hands involved, or there's lots of individuals that have interest in the red planet and the moon, because the moon also too is going to be the launch pad for a mission to Mars for humans. So there's Chinese one, Hunter's there. If he's like, well, Daddy, I've got to. He'll forget, tell him he'll forget about it anyway. It won't really matter. So, but yeah, the Perseverance is actually a pretty cool mission. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of pictures we get back over the coming days and months ahead. See how long that helicopter lasts. They said they actually want to fly that little drone, that little helicopter. They can't really fly it until it's about a negative 130 degrees. So there's a big swing in the temperature there on the red planet. So that's going to be something they're going to have to take into account too for future missions. I mean, they're talking about, humans actually landing on Mars in the mid to late 2030. So that's right around the corner, people. We'll be there before you know it. And there's other private folks, private industries that are looking to fund missions there earlier. So they're going to be rounding up a lot of astronauts to go on private and NASA funded missions to the Red Rock. So yeah, I was leading into that. Damn it, BP, you beat me to it. He says better landing on Mars than Uranus, but for comedic value, I always say Uranus. So as I always throw out there to Donald Wayne. Hey, welcome Kimberly, and welcome Lil Rock, and PBG. Welcome. But anyway, that's enough about Perseverance. because we've got some other crazy stuff to get in there, kiddos. We've got a story about, and people may not have known this, that there was actually, how about determination? Thank you for sharing the show, Lurock. There's, we can actually come up with a contest. They did have the contest to name Perseverance, and I think they did some elementary school students got to participate in a contest to name the rover that's on there now, the Perseverance rover. So that was pretty cool for the kiddos. But yeah, the first story we have here is, I bet you didn't know, or you may have known, that there was a Chinese version of Nostradamus. Oh, scandalous. So let me get my scandalous music going here. Whoa there. Yeah, that launch from Mars is actually pretty cool. The landing for Perseverance, it was really cool. It showed it, where it dropped the heat shield. That way the cameras could see and watch it as it, just slowly dropped, or actually it was dropping pretty fast. Yeah, we're doing good, Lil Rock. Thank you for asking. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And then actually after the vehicle that got the rover down on the surface of Mars detached, then that thing just shot out, and it's supposed to be orbiting Mars for the duration of the mission, I believe. So that would be cool. But so let's get to this story about the Chinese Nostradamus by John Chambers, and this is actually on realpolitik.com, and get a lot of good stories from there. So it's a wealth of conspiracy. So, like we say, if it's just a shred of truth, that's all we need. So, I digress. So it starts off as this year, 2011, and this is an old article. Now it came into play about 3 days ago, but the article, I believe, is a little dated. So it says this year is the 2011 is when this was, is the 700th anniversary of the birth of Liu Ji, as Liuji, from 1311 to 1375. So, military commander of Chinese forces both on land and on sea, and longtime advisor to the first Ming Emperor Zhu Yongzhang, whom he helped bring to power. Liu Ji, who eventually became Grand Chancellor at the Imperial Court, was a man of protean interest and the author or co-author of books on warfare, including comprehensive treatises on the use of gunpowder in firearms, and in particular on the use of the medieval Chinese firearm known as the fire lance. Look that one up. Hey, welcome, hey Kiki, and welcome, Class 1. Hey, Mr. Clean, welcome there, Robert. So where was I? What happened? Who did this to me? So yeah, the fire lance, look that up. That's interesting. Liu Ji, who is at least as well known by his horrific or courtesy name of Liu Bowen, also wrote works on astronomy, the calendar, magnetism, geomancy, feng shui, and other subjects skirting the supernatural. In this later category, he wrote one book that holds the same fascination for us today as it did for Liu Ji's contemporaries. This is the Shabing Gi, or the Baked Cake Ballad, a collection of prophecies of future events. The predictions are cloaked in a welter of abstract, elusive, and arcane language. They seem to be stunningly accurate in their prediction of future events, such as the coming of Sun Yat-sen, founder of the Chinese Republic in 1911. They bid fair of being compared to the prophetic centuries of Michael de Nostradamus, the French prognosticator who wrote 200 years in Luigi's future. Basing his calculations on knowledge of cycles covering 50-year periods, the Chinese Nostradamus prophesied that the 50-year period from 1860 to 1910 would unfold as follows. Was he right or was he wrong? He says strong nations will seek to subdue weak ones, while oppressed nations and people will rise and strive to throw off their unvirtuous rulers. The people in China, likewise, will agitate and revolt against their foreign rulers from the north. The country will be weak and divided, as it will be suffering from all these conflicts and other calamities. In a discussion of Luigi and his prophecies in Occult magazine, Sybil Leek writes that, in more specific terms, Luigi pointed out that his people would see great floods in the years of the swine in 1873, the snake in 1887, and the goat in 1893. I was going to try and do it, but I'm not doing the goat sound. And 1911, another year of the swine. Hey, Robert, welcome. Hey, Chris Dolan, welcome. He indicated that within 24 years after the greatest flood, the existing rulership of the country would meet with great difficulties and dangers of an overwhelming nature. And the wise man in the name of the moon would arise as the new sage and statesman to act for the cause and destiny of the country. The wise man in the name of the moon is the birth name of Sun Yat-sen, the founder of the Chinese Republic. Oh, interesting. Who is this bouncing here? Oh, it's Robert. Welcome, Robert.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Good.
Good. We're just learning of the Chinese Nostradamus, sir.
Don't know what that is.
Well, he's a soothsayer, a prophesier, back in the day. So he actually had some predictions that actually did end up coming true. So that's what we're talking about right this second. So in this article that Leek wrote, Leek goes on to explain China was weakened by the Taiping Rebellion and the actions of the revolutions from 1860 onwards. The Great Flood took place in 1877, the year of the swine. There were wars with France, England, and Japan in 1865, 1884, and 1895, each of which brought humiliation and losses to territory to the Manchu dynasty. The final crisis took place in 1911 when the Chinese Revolution broke out to overthrow the once great and long Manchu regime. Exactly 24 years after the Great Flood of the Yellow River. Other important historic events in this 50-year era were the Russo-Japanese War of 1904 and 1905, and the Japanese conquest of Korea in 1911, and the Spanish-American War of 1898 and 1899, and the French annexation of Indochina in 1883. So does the warrior, politician, prognosticator of the future and explorer of ancient New Age lore known as Lu Ji or Lu Bowen have the right to be called the Chinese Nostradamus? Well, hey Beatrice, welcome to the show. There are those who think so. Others contend that while Lu Ji genuinely was a figure of great power and importance amidst the clashing ideologies, peoples, and lifestyles of 14th century China, much of Xiaobing Gay was composed hundreds of years later, after many of the events it predicts had taken place, and was fraudulently credited with Lu Ji's name in order to bestow divine legitimacy on those events. This school of thought traces the inception of the Xiaobing Gi, not the Ming or even the Qing era, but to the work of fiction writers and propagandists of the anti-Manchu sectarian organizations and secret societies that flourished in the early 18th century. Some hold there was really a Xiaobing Gi composed by Lu Ji and consisting of prophetic messages, but it was greatly adumbrated, added to, and revised in later centuries, becoming the centerpiece of a number of Chinese messianic documents built on, in the words of Baron J. Terhar, the concrete expectation that one or more saviors will descend to Earth to rescue a select group of human beings from imminent or currently raging apocalyptic disasters. Indeed, Class 1. What really happened may be a complex mixture of all the above, including the exciting, if uncomfortable, there we go. So a brief look at the tumultuous times in which Lu Ji lived and left his mark may provide the beginnings of an answer. Late 14th century and early 15th century China under the Ming Dynasty saw the last great flowering of Chinese culture before a lengthy period of stagnation that ended only at the beginning of the 20th century. Exactly. They don't want it to come out, but it only benefits them. Or does it? Paper, 100 BCE, and the seismograph, 132 CE, gunpowder, 220 CE, and printing, movable wooden blocks by the 6th century CE, movable type by the 11th. All these were only a few of the inventions that China had developed centuries before the West, debatably. And it pioneered such devices as the compass, the stirrup, suspension bridges, canal locks, iron chains, and water-powered mills and looms as well. Overachiever. Under the Ming, China brought these advanced technologies to the height of efficiency. Art, particularly pottery, printed text of every sort, a ponderance of them being scholarly, and architecture, both sacred and profane, flourished as never before. Defenses, paved highways, bridges, temples, and shrines, stupas, tombs, memorial arcs, and rock gardens were built in profusion. Come on. We must have gardens. The walls of some 500 cities were reconstructed. Smaller and cheaper, that's right. There's always somebody willing to do it a little cheaper. According to a legend that has followed him up to modern times, along with that of his prowess as a prognosticator, Lu Ji himself was an ingenious builder of imperial cities. I'd heard that, Class 1. From 1405 to 1433, the eunuch admiral Zheng He, born 4 years before Lu Ji died, would lead at least one expedition of 200, perhaps even 371 ships, some of them the tallest in the world. Again, we need checks on that. On a diplomatic and exploratory mission to Southeast Asia, Africa, the Indian subcontinent, the Persian Gulf, the Arab states, and the Red Sea. Gavin Menzies speculates in 1421, the year China discovered America, that this fleet, captained by its Chinese Vasco da Gama and carrying a crew of 28,000, even penetrated as far as the west coast of North America. Whoa, dude! To cap the achievements of this era, in a literary mode, in 1403 to 1408, 3,000 scholars labored to compile and copy what is still the longest encyclopedia ever produced, the Young Lo Tai Tin, Grand Encyclopedia of Young Lo Tai Tin reign period. Indeed, man, and the food there I heard was off the chain. An astonishing 11,095 volumes containing 50 million Chinese characters. Only 370 volumes have survived, scattered in libraries around the world. So they're not going to let you just go and check it out. So who was Lu Ji? Well, Lu Bowen was an exemplar of and helped to mold this world of vibrant and many-faceted activities. He was born in Qingting County, modern-day Wenqing County, in Zhejiang Province. The Zhejiang Province, in 1311. Welcome, Eric. Tall, wiry, eager, and precocious, he rose swiftly in the imperial civil service, acquiring the skills of engineer, writer, soldier, and administrator, and others. Welcome, foe. When one of the leaders of the Red Turban Secret Society, look that up, a former traveling monk, grotesque in appearance but highly capable, Zhu Yongchang, seized Nanking from the Mongols in 1356, Lu Ji was at his side. 12 years later, Zhu drove the descendants of the Great Khan out of Beijing and became the first Ming emperor. This almost sounds like Star Trek. Lu served in many administrative posts under Zhu Yongzhang. He was a commanding officer in the sea and land battles. He studied and wrote on a wider range of topics than any other man his time, particularly in the fields of warfare and divination. Joseph Needham writes of him in Science and Civilization in China that Lu Qi was a striking personality of remarkable qualities, both civil and militarily. In philosophy, he was a skeptical naturalist, interested in all kinds of science and proto-science, astronomy, the calendar, magnetism, and geomancy, and a friend of the eminent mathematician and alchemist Cao Yaxin. But he was also concerned with administration. For long an advisor to the first Ming emperor. In war, he commanded at battles both on land and afloat, having in one instance, 1,363 flagships destroyed by a flying shot just after he had transferred to another vessel. Needham sums up in Lee's unique abilities. Lu Qi was the sort of man who could successfully conjure a change in the wind just when the commander-in-chief needed it. He was a superhero as well. Welcome, Pandas and Big Blue. Thank you. Needham's vivid description of Lu Ji brings out the adventurous side of his life, as no account of his remarkable man can fail to do. This action-oriented dimensions of the prognosticator warrior was exploited in full by Taiwanese TV in a 404 episode megaseries. Yes, they said 404 episodes. Good Lord. Exactly. I told you, those Taco Bell burritos, man. Welcome, dolls. Shinji Mao, Son Li Bo Win, The Amazing Strategist Lu Bowen, that aired 5 nights a week from August 23rd, 2006 to March 12th, 2008. I mean, not that the Chinese government would force people to watch something like that. This TV spectacular tells how Lu Bowen's amazing ability to predict the future helped Zhu Zhuang overthrow the Yuan Emperor and establish the Ming Empire. Yeah, that's right, Class 1. We never do that. In actual fact, Lu Bowen's death in 1375 is shrouded in mystery. Oh, really? His multifarious talents may have incurred the jealousy of Zhu, who increasingly perceived his lieutenant as a threat, harassed Lu Bowen so much that he died of sorrow and indignation. Good Lord. The emperor then erased much evidence of the warrior seer's accomplishments. The TV megaseries takes advantage of these blank spaces, writing in a passionate love affair between Bowen and Princess Nanfeng. Oh, naughty. Daughter of the deposed Mongol emperor. Did this high-powered liaison really take place? The best that can be said is that there is no strong reason to suppose that it did not. Saucy. In the early stages of the story, Princess Nanfeng tries to assassinate Emperor Yongzheng and is blinded for her failed attempt and seeks refuge in the shop of a Tang, who turns out to be Bowen's best friend. She's like, "What's up, dude?" There she meets Louis and his sister, Axui, who is training in the martial arts. When Louis discovers who this refugee is, he tries to restore her sight and keep her from trying to assassinate Emperor Yongzheng again. Yeah, I mean, you were already blind. Why do it again? Because she's got ice cream, BP. Bowen wants to promote good relations between the present Ming Emperor and the former Mongol Emperor. So a treacherous Ming official, Hu Huayong, tries for personal gain to persuade the Ming Emperor to have Nanfeng killed. A battle of wits ensues that pits the noble Lu Bowen against the evil Hu Huayong. It's this battle filled with bloody combat, sizzling romance, and the wrenching encounters of Bowen with the gods from whom he channels searing images of the future that kept millions of Taiwanese glued to their TV sets for more than 18 months. I mean, if that's not mind control, I don't know what is. At the end of 404 episodes, when the contest is decided in favor of the Ming Dynasty, the aid of Louis and his paranormal powers has been indispensable. Good Lord, Eric. Well, hopefully they'll give you some gas for that. I hate going to the dentist. So how much truth is there in this TV production and the depiction of Lu Ji as a man of magical clairvoyant power? Like it says, the Chinese Nostradamus. Did he really channel future event predictions that gathered into a volume called Shabing Gi, rival those of Nostradamus in their beguiling obscurity, and when they can be interpreted, their occasional striking accuracy? So many modern scholars, as we've seen, tend not, tend not to think not. Terhar writes in the 19th century, one of the first paragraphs of the 1811 initiation manual, put together by secret societies plotting the downfall of the Manchu dynasty and the resurrection of the Ming in a series of divinely ordained Messiah-led apocalyptic battles, states that in 1643, an inscription by Louis Vaughan was spit out by the Yellow River in Kaifeng. It predicted the return of the Ming under the Zhou family, bringing peace. Perhaps not conscious fraud as much as powerful, self-deluding emotional need, it must have seemed to the members of the society as if they were channeling the document. Wafted Lu Ji's imprimatur into the ritualized agendas of the anti-Manchu secret societies. Nevertheless, there is a story with some claim to historical truth that suggests just how cryptic messages in baked cakes prophesying China's future might have come to be associated with Lu Ji. I will post this article on Twitter and see for yourself if you think that Lu Ji is not little g. Lu Ji is the Chinese Nostradamus. I don't know. It could be. That's right, Eric. Take the gas, for goodness sake. Take the gas. It's always a good way to get those teeth done. So, Eric, I hope you do well with that. Last time I went to the dentist, they took 7 teeth out. 4 of those were my wisdom teeth. But I have to say that I felt no change in my capabilities of thought before or after. So I think it's lies. But so the next one that we have is Big Oil and Their Bankers. And this one's by Dean Henderson. And you can imagine where this one is going to go. So, anything that involves Dick Cheney is basically going to have some kind of, well, you be the judge for yourself. Yeah. The record profits accrued by U.S. corporations as a result of the Gulf War also served to offset the imbalance in U.S. GCC trade created by GCC oil revenue. The oil monarchs were suddenly buying billions in U.S. weaponry and paying U.S. engineer firms to expand oil and gas facilities. Right? Allowing for higher oil production and lower oil prices that served as jet fuel for a sluggish U.S. economy. The rebuilding of Kuwait was another shot in the U.S. economic arm. The Bush administration solicited financial contributions for the war effort, which ended up exceeding the cost of the war. The U.S. Treasury made money off the war. I don't know if that's true. It can't be true. Oh, well, I digress. This profiteering didn't go unnoticed. Germany and Japan both requested refunds for their contributions. And why would you not? Saudi Arabia and Kuwait bore the brunt of the financial burden of the Gulf War, just as they were taking it on the chin for Saddam's bills unpaid from the Iran-Iraq War. Did the U.S. seek to diminish the wealth of these two most powerful GCC nations as a means to keep them dependent on U.S. security schemes? Big Oil never liked the moves into downstream oil investments, which both the Saudis and Kuwaitis had started making. Kuwait had been so successful, there was industry talk of it becoming the eighth sister. And you can look that one up. Even before the U.S. bombed Iraq, the tab of the GCC was running for U.S. intervention outstripped oil revenues. In Riyadh, war expenses exceeded oil revenues by a whopping $10 billion. Despite Aramco's expansion, the Saudis had to import jet fuel for Allied planes, underscoring the lack of refining facilities in the country even after the Ras Tanura upgrade. The House of Saud spent $13.5 billion for basic upkeep of U.S. troops based there to execute the Gulf War. $3 to $4 billion to provide for 200,000 Kuwaiti refugees and provide the brunt of the $9.5 billion in GCC aid in which the U.S. pushed for to reward countries like Syria, Egypt, and Senegal for their support in the war effort. But this was chicken scratch compared to the billions that ended up in the pockets of U.S. defense and engineering firms. Prince Abdullah Faisal bin Turki, chair of the Saudi Industrial Development Authority, estimated the total war cost to the Saudis is over $80 billion. Oh, really, Class 1? The winter's pretty brutal there, huh? There were economic losses to GCC less easily calculated. The day Iraq invaded Kuwait, confidence in Persian Gulf investments was shattered. Bahrain, offshore banking center to the region, lost $13.7 billion in bank deposits. The UAE saw bank withdrawals rise to 25% of liabilities. Yeah, I've got family there, Class 1 probe. Yeah, it's definitely cold. The Saudi Arabian stock market crashed and 11% of all bank deposits left the kingdom. Major industrial projects were canceled, including a Saudi plan to build another $6 billion petrochemical complex at Jubail Industrial City. Saudi International Bank, whose executive director was Morgan Guarantee's Peter DeRose, bought millions of dollars in discounted South American debt to bail out the international bankers under Bush Treasury Secretary and Dylan Reed alumnus Nicholas Brady's Brady plan. The Saudi Arabian Monetary Agency, the SAMA, the kingdom's Morgan-led central bank, showed a $9 billion account deficit in 1989 due to falling oil prices caused by Aramco and Four Horsemen expansions. Now, even the Saudi swing producer extraordinaire was suffering the consequences of low oil prices. In a moment of remarkable irony, SAMA was forced to borrow $3.5 billion to cover a reserve shortfall from an international banking syndicate led by J.P. Morgan Chase. Go figure. Kuwait was faring no better. It went from being an international creditor to a debtor nation because of the Gulf War. Downstream oil investments were shelved. The Al Sabah family slush fund was forced to sell 10 to 15 billion in overseas assets and borrow an additional 20 billion from the international bankers over the next 5 years to pay for reconstruction of the decimated the decimated emirate. Some Kuwaiti assets were mysteriously lost. I wonder where they went. And never recovered. That's a whole nother show. The rebuilding of Kuwait cost over $100 billion. The Kuwait-Maryland Partnership was formed before the war to plan the rebuilding of Kuwait. The U.S. Army Corps landed an initial 90-day contract to clean up the war mess for $45 million. Time magazine reported that Waste Management went into Kuwait without even asking permission and began cleaning up. It's like, that's what we do. Then presented the Kuwaitis with a $500,000 bill. And then got a $12 million contract to continue picking up war trash. The World Bank advised Kuwait in its recovery effort. Betchel led the contractor frenzy with a cadre of subcontractors led by Brown and Root and Dresser Industries, two subsidiaries of Houston-based Halliburton. Yeah, sure, Eric. Give me a few minutes here. Right, Class 1? Tough talking Bush Senior Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney was now Halliburton Chairman and CEO. Cheney now struck a more businesslike tone, cutting oil deals with Saddam Hussein. According to the Financial Times, from 1998 to 2000, Halliburton did nearly $24 million in business selling oil drilling equipment and services to Iraq. Cheney and company circumvented the U.S. embargo by dealing through two European subsidiaries, Dresser Rand and Ingersoll Dresser Pump. Yeah, I did too, Class 1. I sure did too. Raytheon installed a new air traffic control system in Kuwait, while AT&T and Motorola received mobile phone contracts. When the Kuwaitis announced they would purchase 15 new Airbus jetliners from Europe for $200 million, Bush Commerce Secretary and Texas Commerce Bank insider Robert Mosbacher fired off an angry letter to the El Sabah clan. Kuwait decided to purchase 3 Boeing 747s for $500 million instead. According to the World Bank officials, 80% of Kuwaiti rebuilding contracts went to U.S. companies. U.S. exports to Kuwait in 1991 more than doubled to $2 billion. Neil Bush, the president's Silverado S&L looting son, so the article says, lobbied the Al Sabah clan on behalf of the two Houston-based oil equipment companies. Marvin Bush, another Bush progeny, lobbied for contracts for Murphy and Associates, a firm owned by former U.S. Ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Richard Murphy. I mean, when you got it, that's right. That's right. BP, when you got him over a barrel. I mean, when in Rome. Former Reagan press secretary John Sununu helped Westinghouse procure a contract to build a $1 billion perimeter defense system for Kuwait, while Bush Secretary of State James Baker was hired straight out of office as a lobbyist for now defunct Enron, which received a $600 million contract from Kuwait to build an electrical power plant. The big three U.S. automakers fared well also, since 300,000 cars were destroyed in the war. It took nearly a decade to restore Kuwaiti's oil industry. Betchel led this massive project, receiving an initial $1 billion contract to put out the raging fires at 650 oil wells. In 1996, Kuwait announced that it would spend another $25 billion on its seemingly endless rebuilding effort. Other GCC nations rewarded Bechtel too. In 1994, it got a $450 million contract to upgrade the refinery it built at Ras Tanura, Saudi Arabia. A month later, it was given the contract to upgrade another Saudi refinery. And that same year, it contracted with the UAE-based Abu Dhabi company to build oil infrastructure. In 1993, Bechtel built a fertilizer plant in Syria, an oil pipeline in Algeria, oil field infrastructure for Chevron Texaco in Kazakhstan, and the Miami International Airport. In 1995, Bechtel led a U.S. aid-funded consortium to restructure the energy sectors in 11 Central and Eastern European nations and joined forces with Daewoo in a major Israeli industrial development. Saudi billionaire Salman Olayan, who rode the Bechtel escalator to riches, told a meeting of international bankers in New York in 1993 that total losses to the GCC states due to the Gulf War were over $620 billion. Yep. Why do you think that everyone is still there? It's money. Money, money, money. Money. Yeah, I'll post that article on Twitter too. It's always disgusted me how much advantage is taken. Yep, it's definitely a mess, and that's and that was and that was back in the early '90s, and we are still there. Why are we there? I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I was too, because actually it flashed on the screen. It redirected me somewhere else. So, probably got some big oil investors that aren't too happy. But look, it's all common knowledge. I mean, come on. They're not going to post it on regular media because they don't want those stories to keep coming up. There's no reason why we should still be over there. Those battles that are being fought have been fought for thousands of years, and it's not our fight. But hey, that's just my opinion. Yeah, Eric, it's probably a good time for you to come in and do show plugs, so I don't continue to get further pissed off by this story. Hey, welcome, Eric.
Well, hope everybody had a good Monday evening. Well, it's now Tuesday morning, of course, for the Eastern time zone, and I think the great Podbean shows to be on the lookout for. Of course, hopefully, like once you're done with this live cast, we will be jumping over to the Mr. Clean Music Show and joining Robert and company for some great tunes and stories and conversation. And it looks like our good buddy Ralph, has been taking a little bit of time off, but hopefully everything is going well for him. But otherwise, we hope he'll return to his weekday morning time slot of 6 a.m. Eastern, and hopefully he and other friends have got plans for a new season of the Friday night Sex Talk with Virgin Ear show. So stay tuned as we learn more information on that. Then you've got the Chit Chat with the Old Man weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time, part of the Old Man's Podcast with Dina, Joe, and Eric. Plus, be on the lookout for his Friday night music shows every Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and then his Sunday morning Indie Pop Hits Hour Sundays at 9 a.m. Eastern, and then the Sunday afternoon Classical Music Hour every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And of course, on the Podbean daytime schedule, we certainly welcome you to be on the lookout for Just Another Day in Paradise, as well as Lara to do Communication Station and Pink Squirrel to do Whose Podcast Is This Anyway, and the Milk Dog 2020 show if you're interested in hanging out with friends. And then every Wednesday and Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, you've got Frankie D's Crib. And then weekdays around 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you'll have Jeremy doing the Cummings is Culture podcast, and around 8 p.m. Eastern weeknights, you'll have Chuck and Billy doing the comedy podcast, Not Your Cup of Tea. Every weeknight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you've got the Slightly Serious Show with James Mitchell, and also, most evenings you'll also have Chris doing the Forgotten Tunes music show, and also be on the lookout for Lady Me to do her A Day in the Life of Me podcast, as well as be on the lookout for Lyrical Laxatives every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and be on the lookout also for a few more great podcast friends like MCL771 should he do an impromptu show, and also so be on the lookout for Oliver and Tom to do their Daily Struggles of Middle-Aged Men podcast, and a couple of our podcast friends over on YouTube include Roxanne, who does the Odyssey of Ascension, and Cracks, who does the Exotics Radio podcast, and of course, Dennis Lee at the end of the show will plug, of course, Trice Talk and Tall Tales of the Rabbit Hole and how you can get in touch with them.
Well, greatly appreciated, Eric. Thank you for coming on, buddy, and good luck with the dental work that's going on later today.
I'm planning on doing the teeth like the cavity filling sometime in March, but another dilemma that has got that really got me today was having low air pressure in one of my car tires and having to refill it.
Oh no!
But me and a housemate are gonna have a look at the tire to make sure I don't have a slow leak. Unless I'm gonna have to break down and get my trust account to buy some new tires.
Actually, I know that some of I don't know if Pet Boys does it. I think they do. They'll actually patch your tire for free if you have a nail in it, and you can just give them a tip or something.
I remember patching a nail in a truck tire before, and they charged $15. That was 16 years ago.
Jeez. Well, I know when they there was another tire place in town that used to do it. Now you would have to wait. I mean, I think I waited an hour and a half before to get one patched, but I'd just pay somebody $10 to do it and just be in and out. But yeah,
right.
That's it's always something, isn't it?
Well, my car is a 2019 Toyota Corolla, of course, and I've been in possession of it for a little over 2 years now. So and I'm almost at 35,000 miles.
Well, it's a good car. Toyotas, they hold their value, and
Hondas do too.
Yeah, Hondas do too. Good safety, and don't have a lot of problems with them. So, but we appreciate it.
But if in the event I'm going to have to break down and get 4 new tires for the car, I know I'm going to try to go somewhere in between, in terms of pricing and how many miles the tires are good for under warranty. But I'm not going to go with something that's dirt cheap, and I'm not going to go with something that's arm and leg expensive.
Well, one thing I can say, and I don't give a shit if they know or not, don't go to Firestone. And if anybody here knows anybody that works at Firestone, I apologize, but they suck and they take advantage of people. I'm sure there's good people. I
would probably be more inclined to go say Tires Plus or to Discount Tire or somewhere more reputable.
Discount Tire.
And
That's
I'm not
where
really
it was that did the free tire patches. Was a Discount Tire. That's what it was.
But I know like not very many Pep Boys locations are around like they used to be.
No, they're not.
Or I would probably, and I don't think I would go to Walmart's tire and service department because I feel like one of the last few times I went there, we kind of like had a bad experience.
Yeah, I've gone there to buy a battery before, and it was okay, but it's short-staffed. And it's Walmart. Nothing wrong with old Walmart, but they're not paying some of those folks what they need to be paying, so you get what you pay for.
Right. But then when I get my 35,000 mile oil change, hopefully, God willing, we have the stimulus money by then to where I have money saved up to do a brake fluid exchange and throttle body servicing.
Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow night a little bit, but hopefully they'll, hey, Class 1, appreciate it. Appreciate you coming in. Come back and see us. Have a good one.
But of those podcast shows I plugged, I mean, I certainly welcome Class 1 and BP definitely checking out those great shows, including like Chit Chat with the Old Man. And then Jon Devito will have another show on in the morning before Chit Chat with the Old Man if you're up early enough to catch him.
Oh, cool. Well, we're gonna wrap it up here, but we definitely appreciate you coming.
Love you and God bless you, and it's great hanging out with you this evening.
God bless you. Love you, Eric. Have a good one, buddy. But we're going to see Eric. We're going to round it up here. We appreciate everyone coming in. BP, Class 1, everybody that came through the show. Thanks, Robert, for calling in. Thank you, Eric, as always. And on that note, we're going to round on out of here. And like he said, I won't even have to mention all the other shows because he mentioned them, but you can come. Thank you, BP. You have a great night as well. Make sure to come see us over at Trice Talk, where Donald Wayne and I will get into talking about the government and current events and some funny things along the way. But there, Trice Talk, you can catch us at every Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 11 p.m. in the Eastern Time Zone. We appreciate that, BP. And then if you want to get weird and look at conspiracies and, if you want to feel explicit, just not sickos, then come on over here to Tall Tales. We're always trying to get down in the hole and get dirty and see how deep we can get. But we're on every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern to about, sometimes we start at 11:30, 11:45, but we start late sometimes. But then we do impromptu shows as well. We do music shows. We do a little bit of everything here in the hole, and we don't take pictures, so there's no incriminating evidence. But like we say here, if there's a shred of truth, then it's worth throwing out there. We're not mainstream media by any point, any stretch of the imagination. So, but we love what we do, and we appreciate you guys. And thanks for coming in and listening to us, downloading the show, following us, getting updates on future shows, and Bermuda Triangle is coming soon because that came up on a Trice Talk. But remember to do what you do with love at the center of it, and you cannot go wrong. I promise you. And until we're together next time, peace.
Wait a minute, what you're talking about? Hold up, wait a minute, what you're talking about? Wanna be given the blame? I'm a fraud. 'Cause I'm a true psychopath. When you're lost, take your trust. That's me. That's so sick. I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psycho. Ooh, I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psychopath, don't love me. When you're lost, take your trust. Yeah, that's me. Well, that's me. back.